Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing podcast. Each week, John Kasman interviews multifamily and marketing experts to teach you how to find the best places to invest, attract investors, and grow your portfolio. You are listening to Target Market Insights with your host, John Kasman.
Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing show. I'm your host, John Kasman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. Now, if you're enjoying this show, do me one quick favor and leave us a 5-star rating and review. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now, today we're going to be talking to Mike Foster. Mike Foster is a former naval officer, a real estate investor, public speaker, best-selling author, and the host of the podcast, #1 show in real estate investing for the military. It's the Active Duty Passive Income Podcast. Thus, welcome to the show, Mike Foster.
Hey, what's going on? How are you doing, man? Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really, really blessed to be able to share this time with you.
Absolutely. Mike, I went over your bio very, very briefly. Why don't you take a couple minutes, just give us a little bit more context of who you are?
Yeah, no worries. So, like you said, I started in the military. I was in the Navy for 6.5 years. I was a surface warfare officer, so I spent a lot of my time on the ship, navigating from point A to point B. I've done a few different tours, but right around 2016, 2017, I realized that I didn't want to make the Navy a career. So I decided to start looking at a bunch of different entrepreneurial, things and somehow found real estate, through the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, book. Like a lot of people, I'm sure, got their start. And so from there, I bought my first duplex. It was on the beach in Norfolk, Virginia. And I'll never forget because it was this beautiful looking house that I had passed multiple times on my way to work, seeing this like for sale sign, and it had been on the market for a few months. But I had ended up negotiating a seller finance or kind of like a seller option, right, type of deal where I bought the top of my VA loan. This was 2 condos on top of each other, actually. Right, so I bought the top of my VA loan and I had negotiated a contract to buy the bottom later from the seller. And I'd put a renter in the bottom so it can cash flow on top of what I was paying her. I eventually did buy that property 1 year later. And I lived in the top. I still rented the bottom. And while I was on deployments, I used Airbnb as my strategy to cash flow for both mortgages. And it worked out one summer. Later on, again, I did it another summer and just kind of, rolled and compound that success into buying more investment properties. And the rest was history, man. But I really bit the bug really hard. And somehow fell into having this opportunity to start Active Duty Passive Income, which was a company that we created to teach military how to invest in real estate using the same strategies that me and my partners had done. And then we'd learned and read about and networked with all these different investors. Here we are now.
I love it, man. I love it. And that first property, you talked about driving by it all the time and seeing it for sale. What was it that made you go from just thinking about investing and, taking all the things you've learned in Rich Dad, Poor Dad to actually pulling the trigger? I mean, was there something that nudged you over to say, you know what, this is it. We got to make this happen?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And I honestly think there was, and it was just that urge to say, I am 25 years old right now, right? I was turning 26 at the time. And I'd realized that I had gone through the first quarter of my lifespan and I didn't really have any assets or anything, right, of value to carry forward into the next quarter of my life. So as I was rounding my 26th birthday, I realized and committed to myself. And I said, I am going to make this change. All right. I am not going to spend the next quarter of my life, trying to fight my way out of debt, which I was in at the time, just making stupid mistakes with my money and not really thinking about my future. Right. I had a fiance at the time. And I knew that we were going to get married at some point. So I wanted to make that change, not only for her, for my future family, and to just kind of change the legacy that, I had been handed down from my family. Just got to change the dynamic. And I did. And then 1 month later, I bought that house.
No, I love it, man. And then just the the fact that you were so grounded to take a look and say, I've gotten through a quarter of my life without assets. I want my next quarter to be different. I want to set up the foundation for my family to be successful, to have the things that I want them to have these opportunities. Real estate was one of the ways that you look forward to doing it. And that property in particular, you talked about, renting out one of the units, even when you were deployed or away, you would Airbnb both of them. So you had this income coming in, covering the mortgage. Were you like, did you go into that with the assumption that you were going to do Airbnb, or was that something that you kind of just figured out once you kind of owned it and got into it?
So a little bit of both. It's actually ironic because when I was in the process of buying the house, because of the property's location and it being right on the beach, it just looked so perfect as to be something, right? Something interesting, right? Maybe like a wedding venue or something, right? Like I was honestly thinking about this and writing down all these numbers. I'm like, what if I just lived in the top, rent out the bottom to like a wedding planner, and then they can have weddings there. They can do a little something, and then if I need to leave, I can like do a short term rental for the bride and groom, and make a little extra income, right? Doing that. So I was coming up with creative ways, but while I was living there and I had the bottom rented out, it kind of just by necessity, I fell into the short term rental Airbnb thing. I had no idea about Airbnb at the time. But as I was looking into the whole vacation rental, thing, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm deploying in like 3 months. Let me try and figure something out. So I had gone to the thrift shop. Really quickly, I'd tried to furnish up some really nice furniture on a budget, of course, and fell into it, man. I posted my listing, and literally within a month or two, I started getting bookings just like crazy. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I have to figure it out now, right? Put myself in that position to figure it out.
No, that's awesome, man. It's good to just take that, sometimes you have to take that step forward, even if you can't see the
Yeah.
entire staircase, as they say, right? So just taking that step forward, knowing that you were in the military, knowing at some point you might get deployed, but you still
Yep.
bought a property and you just said, listen, I'm probably going to have to rent this out at some point. What are my options? And you just work through those options. And the thing for me is, so many people let their own situation hold them back because they're like,
That's
well,
it,
what
man.
if I'm not here in 3 years? What if I'm not here? Well, you just heard Mike talk about, being deployed, and he came up with a strategy, and maybe Airbnb doesn't work for you today, but that doesn't mean you can't sublet or have some other strategies in place
Exactly.
in case your life does change, but that's not a reason to stop you from getting started today. So really
It's
great
not.
insights, Mike.
Yeah,
I
man.
want
It is not, dude. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
No, absolutely. I want to just transition and talk more
Yeah.
about, active duty passive income. You mentioned that you wanted to create a platform to teach others and create this company to help educate others. First and foremost, walk me through why this was needed. I mean, you're certainly coming across a lot of military professionals. Why did you feel that this platform was needed to address some of the challenges that they face?
Oh man, well, it starts on education. Everything begins and ends, right, with education, and you are only, able to really, succeed at things in life if you know about them first, right? But the thing is that there's no education in the military at all around things like, wealth building and real estate, especially, right? Um, the best they tell you in the military is to save your money. Don't spend it on cars and shoes and all these things that you shouldn't do, which is great, right? They shouldn't be doing that, but let's take it a step further. Let's teach our service members, our servicemen and women, how to actually build wealth, how to be able to buy assets, so when they transition from service, they have a little more options, right? Instead of throwing them back into another form of, I think, enslavement, which is employment. Like, I mean, it's not necessarily that bad, right? Some people can find something that they like to do, that they're passionate about, and that's great. But I can't tell you how many of my sailors, were transitioning without a plan because they had no idea what to do. And the very first time they started thinking about it was at the point of transition. And we can't have that, right? There has to be a better way. And so my friends and I, we committed to doing it, right? We said, no, we're going to create that education and we're going to make it available for people. We sat down and we brainstormed, okay, how can we do this? Facebook community was the best way to start. That's how we did it. But yeah, we committed to creating that real estate education that was so needed because I mean, if you think about it with the VA loan, right? The VA loan is a free loan that you get from the government that they allows you to buy up to a 4-unit apartment building, right? With zero money down. As long as you're living in one, you can rent out the other three. That's great. But people don't know that. I didn't know that at the time, right? But people, so other people didn't know it. And so we got to put that information out.
No, that's a great product, right? I mean, you got the VA loan, and
Yeah,
essentially, you can qualify 2 to 4 unit, 1 to 4 unit, really, but a 2 to 4 unit in particular, and no money down. You have this ability to get into a deal, and I mean, you talk about the ultimate house hack. I mean, the
that's
returns are
it, man.
infinite on something like that. So
Seriously, right? Yeah.
people don't know about it, but if you qualify, if you're military or a spouse is military, that's something you should be looking into. And I wanted to just drill in a little bit more because you talked about people who are transitioning, and maybe some of the folks don't really know as much about the military, but what I want you to help articulate is why this in the time frame is so important, because a lot of what you're doing is
Yes.
applicable to anybody, right? But the
Yes.
reason this is important for those folks who are active military professionals is due to that transition period a little bit, right? So maybe you can just shed a little bit more light on that.
Oh man, I can go in on this one, brother. So feel free to stop me anytime. But so it is so important, especially right now in today's society, right? With or today's economy, with COVID and everything, right? That's been happening. We're realizing, right, that a lot of people are, the job security, right? They're losing their jobs out there, and so this whole idea of transitioning, to traditional employment is starting to really lose its value. And not only that, but our economy is quickly shifting into a skills economy versus a certification economy, right? Which in the military, they are constantly still teaching you, right? You got to get this Sigma certification. You got to, go to this school and you got to get this degree. And then you'll be primed and ready to go on your transition. And that's not always the case anymore, right? A lot of businesses out there, a lot of companies are looking for people who have skills in marketing, skills in sales, skills, to interpersonal skills, networking, right? Like they want to see you actually come to the table with something other than just a piece of paper saying that you could do something. No, they want you to have these skills. And not only that, but, with technology and how things are automating, I mean, how much of a salary do you think you're going to get if a computer is doing most of the work for you? Right. So it's just, I've been watching this for so long, and I'm seeing this now more and more, even for myself. I'm learning that there is a huge importance on building high income skills, right? Investing is one of them, right? Raising capital, right? Being able to, do what you teach your audience, right? And syndicating apartment buildings. You can build an entire job and income off of doing that. And you can do it right from the comfort of your home. You can learn sales and marketing, learn copywriting, learn how to, help other businesses, reach these markets, reach these people that are at home now, reach or generate sales and create a 6 or 7 figure income for yourself just off of that. But what I love about it is that you learning high income skills allows you to, take control of your time and take control of your income. And I'm praying that the veteran community opens their eyes more to these possibilities, especially as it pertains to real estate investing, because, even while you're active duty, you can get started in real estate investing just, slowly, right? Conservatively over time. And within 4 to 10 years before you transition, you can build yourself a nice cushion of income where you're not relying on Uncle Sam to give you that pension, benefit at the end of the time, at the end of the term, or force yourself to either stay 20 years if you don't want to, or force yourself to go into employment when you don't want to, when you'd rather do something else, right? So it gives you that option, right? It gives you that freedom, that ability to take control of your time, of your income, who you work for, right? Who you work with. And it just makes life way more enjoyable. But it all starts with education. It all starts there. And then from there, you just have to network with individuals that are doing what you want to do.
And Mike, you've built a strong community, right? I mean, we talk about that, but you've built a strong community, tribe, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I've come across some of those folks in my life as well. And I will say that I think it's really great to see the community you've built and the engagement that they have, the value that they're getting from the interactions, the content you guys are putting out, the education there. What is it like to build this community, and how do you feel like you've made an impact on some of these active duty members?
Oh man, I I have been truly blessed with all the individuals that have come through our community, and even seeing some of them thrive now on their own and just doing incredible things. Right, Anthony Pinto is just closed on like another 100+ unit, and I remember talking to him in Norfolk, Virginia at a meetup when he hadn't even bought a property yet. Like this is, and in such a quick amount of time, you've had, June Shin, who's right behind him. We've had Nick Vu come on. I had a coaching call with him, like, I don't know, a year ago, maybe a little less than that. And just some incredible folks that have come in through our community that have shined. And it is so impactful to know that, I had a part in it, right? That my team, right, we were able to put together this amazing group, right? Tribe, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to control that, right? But what I love is that, through the podcast, through the course, the content that we've created, we've kind of created almost like a little bigger pockets, right? For the military specifically. And it warms my heart every day, man. Every single day. Every single time I have a podcast interview with another military member, every single time that I'm doing a coaching call with someone and I get to spend 45 minutes just to help guide them and give them direction, right? 3 nuggets, to get them to take their first step in action and to see them buy their first property. It's huge, man. It warms my heart.
That's awesome to hear. And Mike, I think that the other thing too for our listeners to take away is, this show, Target Market Insights, we typically use Target Market to talk about the locations, which we're going to get into in a moment. But Target Market is also about your target audience. And it's really important to understand who you serve. And the fact that you have honed in specifically on active duty military professionals and helping them understand the challenges that they face, the specific challenges that they have to overcome, especially when it comes to that transition period, helping them, addressing those issues, helping them get the resources, the education that they need. That's put you in a position to grow a powerful group, right? And to grow a powerful tribe and to actually help some of these people see success. So if you are thinking about how you elevate yourself and go to the next level, one of the things I want you to do is just think about who you can help. Who do you serve, and who are you uniquely positioned to serve better than others? Whether that is based on your corporate experience, whether that's based on community, whether that's based on religious experiences, whatever the case may be, think about where your tribe is. Who are you best positioned to serve? And how do you put yourself in position to do that? I think that's what you've done, Mike. And that's my big takeaway is figure out who you can serve best, understand the unique challenges that they face, especially if you've been in the same exact position, because now you can really position yourself to solve their challenges and help those individuals. So really appreciate all the hard work you've done, and also just continue to show like, hey, you can build communities, you can build tribes, but it really comes down to serving people and helping them see success.
That's it. Thank you, man.
Absolutely. So, Mike, you've been building your own portfolio as well, right? So let's talk about where you've been focusing. You live in a very nice place. Why don't you talk about where you live right now, and then also talk about where you're focusing from an investments perspective.
No worries. So I live in Hawaii right now. My wife is still active duty. I transitioned a couple of years ago, but she has a few years out here. So we've been blessed to be able to come out and enjoy some time here in paradise. But my focus, my target market is Gulfport, Mississippi right now. The southeast region, honestly, but specifically Gulfport. It was a place that I found when I was in the service. I had transitioning from my Sea Command to deployable shore command. I had spent 30 days out in Gulfport on a training. it was expeditionary combat skills. And I remember from 6 o'clock in the morning to about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, we were doing nothing but shooting guns, patching everybody up, the bloody bandages, trying to take people from the X, learning this medical thing called tactical combat casualty care is awesome. Anyway, when I wasn't shooting guns and throwing tourniquets on on dead bodies, fake dead bodies, right? We were I was outside in Gulfport, driving around, getting to know the market, making some relationships, and trying to find some deals. And I ended up building some solid relationships and found a deal that I closed on within that month. It was an incredible deal. It was a single family home at the time, right? But it cash flowed tremendously. And so since then, I've been following the market. We've picked up a couple more deals there. And now I'm looking at larger scale apartments. I've got a 120 unit under contract right now in the area. And it's a great market. And for those who are interested, the Gulf Coast, I think is really coming back, from its Katrina days, right? I mean, 15 years now, and it's seen a slow, but steady growth. A lot of places still haven't quite recovered yet, but there are some good pockets on the Gulf Coast that have, and Gulfport's one of them. It's still a very popular tourist destination for a lot of individuals. There are a lot of snowbirds that are traveling back into that area, and it's cash flow heavy. It's like a very good blue collar area, but it's cash flow heavy. So definitely one I recommend. Maybe someone in your audience who's in that area wants to go take a look. Go find something down there.
Absolutely. Well, what I heard you say was when you started talking about the extradition combat skills, I just heard don't F with Mike. You can shoot somebody and patch them up real quick. So don't mess with Mike is my takeaway from all of that. But as you talk about, the Gulfport, and you mentioned just, the recovery from Katrina, which, it feels like it was very recent, but I mean, that was at this point, that was over like 10 years ago or so, right?
Yeah,
like that was
it's 15 years ago, man.
15, wow, that was 15 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, 2005.
Wow. So the fact that you still have some pockets there that haven't really recovered, and obviously we've had other issues and things since then, but nonetheless, I think that says something about the area. You found some single family homes. You got the 120 under contract now, and as you're growing there, I think one of the questions that I would have as a potential investor is, how do you account for, the hurricane, right? So insurance and the risk that's involved there. How did you kind of factor that into your equation when you underwrote the deal and as you decided to move forward? How did that play a role?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, man. And insurance is still high, right, in that region. But just like anything, right, you got to make sure the numbers work. And you also want to make sure that you talk to as many, different people in that insurance, right, area as possible, just like you would property managers, contractors. It's all about finding good quotes. We have an incredible team down there, right, and network that I've built over the past few years. And one of them, is a really good insurance broker who's helped me find the best possible deals. So, I mean, just like anything, man, it's your money's in your network. When you have the right people on your side, they can truly help you out. So, I think that's the best way to tackle anything, but most importantly for insurance as well.
No, it's awesome to hear. So as you look at that, obviously you're doing this deal in Gulfport. Are you looking to continue to centralize in this region, or are there other markets or sub markets that you're looking into as well?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking to centralize now in Gulfport. However, there are a few markets that have, hit my eye. Huntsville, Alabama has been growing, but just outside of Huntsville, it seems to be growing as well. I've looked at, one market that I actually thought I looked at recently. It was a 50 unit I was looking at there. It's Valdosta, Georgia. I had never heard of anything about it beforehand, but apparently Valdosta State University has the best football team in the country. that stats wise, you know what I mean? Now, I'm sure plenty of people disagree, right?
I'm sure everyone in the SEC will disagree with that.
I'm sure everyone in the SEC will disagree, right? But according to stats, or maybe I'm sorry, I don't think it was the university, but I think it was the high school team. I think it was the high school.
Okay. That might be, I might buy that more. Okay.
The high school, yeah. Apologize about it. It's the high school there, but that Valdosta like high school has like the best like football stats or something. Like, it was wild, and I love football, so it appealed to me. But there are a bunch of awesome things in that market. And what's cool about it too is that of course, when all this coronavirus stuff lifts up, it's right off of the interstate that leads down towards Disney, right, and all that. So there's a big tourist destination there too. So anyway, it was something that was interesting. The owner that I'm under contract with on this deal owned another apartment that was in Valdosta, so it made me look at that market and just that whole southern Georgia region. It seems to be really growing as well. So something that maybe your folks might want to take a look at.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, I think that part of the country is definitely seeing some growth. So taking a look and seeing what's going on there might be some opportunities. So certainly keep your eye on that. Mike, let's go back to some of the marketing aspects, right? We've talked about the educational company. You guys have the podcast, which you mentioned. I think I saw a post recently that you guys are doing like 15K a month on your downloads, or just something great as far as the engagement, the interaction that you're getting, as far as the audience and the response there. Talk to me a little bit more about kind of the role marketing plays with growing the company and continuing to impact more and more people so you can reach them, get the message to them, and help them learn more about ways to, as you stated in your mission, really make that transition, understanding how to invest and prepare themselves for that transition. How does marketing play a role in the efforts you do?
Oh, marketing is huge, right? I mean, honestly, if people don't know you, right, then they won't be able to see what you have to offer, and it's huge. So you gotta find creative ways, especially in today's times when people are spending most of their time on their phone. My phone is right behind this, but yeah, most people are on their phone. Most people are at home now, so. It's like they have more time to, see the ads on social media or see, what you're putting out maybe on YouTube. However, right, there's also this flood, right, this overflow of information. And so how do you stand out in a sea of other people trying to market their things and stuff? So you got to get really creative. Some of the creative strategies that we've, seen is really just creating content that creates curiosity. Right? Creates curiosity that puts it out there, especially for, the military community, because we as a community are more conservative, right? By and large. And so when you present this opportunity of financial freedom or, trying to better your life financially, immediately you run into that cynical and skepticism, right? That is very, very, indicative of a conservative community. So especially one like the military. So it's interesting. And we definitely do run into those hurdles, but like anything, you just gotta, figure out your way around it. And, and we try and continue to incite curiosity to spark, new ideas and concepts, engage in a lot of different ways on many different platforms, and then try and stay on top of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the conservative nature and somewhat skepticism that you've encountered. And, it's one of those things that I think all of us as entrepreneurs do face, especially in this, if you're doing multifamily investing specifically, because, you are trying to find passive investors and you're looking to cultivate your network and build from there. And I mean, for us, we primarily work with more W-2 employees who work in corporate America. For you, it's the active duty. I know other folks who work with educators and firefighters and police officers. So as you're talking to these individuals who have that skepticism, what are a couple of tricks? I mean, maybe you just give us a couple of tips to help to break down that skepticism. And it's not to try to convince them, but to at least show them, like, here's the fact from just kind of this unbiased fear, this unfounded fear. Here's some of the facts or the things that you should be looking at. What are some ways you use to kind of disarm someone that maybe is approaching you with a lot of skepticism?
Oh, love. Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing that I default to is an awesome book. All right. I'm going to recommend this to every one of you guys who are listening to this. It is called the One Sentence Persuasion Course. All right. Highly recommend you check that out. It's a very, very short read. But it
Is
pretty
it one
much,
sentence?
yeah, right. One sentence. Well, there is one sentence in there that they talk about that pretty much sums up influence, but it's incredible, and it's really it comes down to that people will do anything for those that help them achieve their dreams, help them dispel their fears. It helps validate some of their suspicions, helps them throw rocks at their enemies, right? And it's incredible because it's so true. And when it comes down to it, we all want to just be understood. So when it comes to anything marketing related, the best tip that I can give you is to just have empathy, right? Have empathy and realize that, if someone's seeing this for the first time, of course their walls are going to go up, right? I mean, they have 30, 40, however many years of their own experience in life to tell them that, they're on this path that they've been down, and, maybe they feel comfortable, and that comfort allows them to be suspicious at anything new. Right. So when you talk to them about something new, just, explain to them, hey, and find that one person, right? Don't try and talk to everybody. Talk to that one person, that ideal client, right, that you have or that you're trying to target, and just say, hey, I get it. You have been down this road for so long, and this is what you've seen. And, from your experience, this is this and this and this might have happened to you. I get it. I've been there, right? I was there. It doesn't matter when you were. If it was years ago, decades ago, you might have been there. So put yourself in that position, and then just, give them something give them a question, right? That you had back then that they probably have now, right? And that question, how that led from just a question to researching it to figuring out how you were able to put the dots together and just take action, right? One acronym that I really love is called LDART. Okay. I picked this up from a coaching mentor of mine, and LDART stands for light bulb, dopamine, authority, relational, testimonial, right? And that is the content that you should put out there to folks that you're trying to influence, trying to persuade, maybe trying to raise capital. But your dopamine, your light bulb content is like that spark, that curiosity that you throw out there to, inspire people to think about something different. Maybe give them that aha moment that you had back when you first, got in, started in real estate, or whatever. You figured out whatever you're trying to do. That dopamine content, that's the stuff that you see out there where people throwing cars, those girls, the whatever the heck, right? Stuff that makes people be like, oh man, like, this dude's a badass, right? Right? Whatever. But it doesn't have to be, right? It can be something that, that allows people to, throw in that dopamine in their brain and attract them to you. So maybe it's a picture of you walking a property. Maybe it's a video of you going and walking a property, and you're showing people, hey, like, this is what we're doing. Authority content, very similar, right? If you're walking a property, make sure you're taking a video, make sure you're taking notes, and you're sharing people your insight. Let them see you as an expert, in whatever it is that you're doing. If you need to get a whiteboard out, get a whiteboard and just talk about numbers. Sometimes when you show people stuff, right, and you make it concrete for them to understand, they'll be able to understand a little bit better what you're trying to explain to them. When you tell them, oh, financial freedom is possible and this and that, yada, yada. Okay, great. Yeah, I'll get there maybe at some point, or maybe you're just full of crap. But when you take a whiteboard and you show them, you break down the numbers, this is how you make $10,000 in income every single month. You start here, you get to here, you get to here. You break down those steps and bite size it for them, then it's a heck of a lot easier, right? And so all that can fall under authority. Right? Relational content. You want them to be able to relate to you. If you are a family man and you've got kids, right? I just had my first child last month. I put a picture of my baby, or me holding my baby, and, everyone's like, oh, that's so cute, blah, blah, blah. I remember when I was there, have fun with the late nights and all that stuff, right? It's cool. It's fun. It's something completely separate from business, but you know what? It gets people to relate to you and it gets people to like you, right? And that's huge as well. And then the last thing, testimonials. If you are impacting people's lives, if you are, helping people, even if you're not impacting them in a big way, but you're helping them with investments, maybe some of your investors that you've had invest with you on past deals, get them to write testimonials for you, right? Ask them to just drop a quick line and say, hey, this was an incredible investment that I made and we made this much money and I'm excited for the next one. Cool, right? Done. But what it does is it creates social proof. And at the end of the day, right, people are willing to give you money to invest in your deal if they think it's a good deal, but no one really wants to be the first one, right? And that's just life, right? So when you have that empathy, just realize that no one wants to be the first. So if you show them that other people are doing it, they're more likely to commit to investing in you.
And I think to your point, it's that they want to make sure that they're making a good decision, and you have to put out the signals that this is a good decision. Here are the other people who've made this decision. See how happy they are. See who I am as a person. Like, you have to check those boxes so people can be comfortable with you, because ultimately that's what they're looking for, right? They're looking for the affirmation that investing with you, working with you is a good decision, is the right decision. And they're looking at your content, your communication, all those things to reaffirm that. And there's a book, I forget what it's called now, but they talk about the fight or flight mentality that we all have hardwired into our brains. And if we don't understand something, if we can't quickly make a decision, both from our heart and our mind, then our gut is to flee, is to run away, is to not do anything, right? If we can't make sense of it, if we're not getting those good Philly vibes, then we're going to run away from it. So you have to make sure you're checking off those boxes. And I love that acronym you gave, LDART, for those who weren't writing it down. We'll certainly make sure this is in the show notes. L for light bulb, D for dopamine, A for authority, R for relational, T for testimonial. So just making sure that as you're looking to create content, you understand the different levers to pull and tug to make sure you are connecting with people. With that said, Mike, let's go on to our bullseye round. You ready?
All right, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
Ooh, that's a great one. Let's talk about the property management company that I had going into that Gulfport deal, right? That very first Gulfport deal. So I left my training and I went on deployment about a month and a half later. And in that month and a half, we were trying to turn over the property, or we closed the property and we're trying to, get it ready for tenants. And there was a property management company that I had found that I thought I had a really good relationship with, did not end up turning out. And one of the hard lessons I had to learn there is to always have a backup plan when it comes to property management. And actually there's two, right? Never, ever, ever sign a contract that you can't get out of in 30 days or less. All right. Because I was stuck with this property management company for an additional 60 days. And they just weren't working out, right? I mean, there was some contracting that had to get done, a very small piece of a deck that probably could have gotten done in a day, maybe two, because of the weather conditions. It took 2 months. It took them 2 months. They weren't following up. They weren't responding to me. It was the biggest nightmare in the world. So anyway, that was my big lesson. And then I carried that forward. Now, I always have 2 or 3 property managers in my pocket, in case I need to switch through, and I never sign a contract that I can't terminate in 30 days or less. That's a fact.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
Ooh, that's a good one too. If you're a self-property manager, right? Like let's say you have properties in your area that you're going to manage, Cozy is an incredible tool. Cozy.co. It is a free property management tool that you can use. Your tenants have to pay for their background check, for their application, and all that. But you don't pay for anything as a landlord, and it integrates directly ACH transfers. They can pay rent through the portal. They can talk about and send pictures of any kind of issues, right, that they have coming up. It's an awesome tool. And if you're not, if you're not a self-manager, you can have your property management company use Cozy as well, and they can take all your payments, and they even give you reports. I'm sorry, I'm done.
Give me the book you recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
Oh man, well, so the book I've gifted the most, definitely our book, Military House Hacking. That's just because it's an incredible book for veterans to start. But a book that I've recommended the most recently is Getting the Money. Right, Getting the Money by Susan Lassiter-Lyons. For your audience, especially if you're listening to this and you are looking to syndicate for any type of real estate, whether it's a portfolio or whether it's one deal, Getting the Money is an incredible book. Susan Lassiter-Lyons is an awesome author, and she'll show you how to raise millions of dollars in like 30 days or less. It's incredible, and it's a short read.
What's a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals?
Every single morning, the first thing I do when I wake up is I pray and I think about my goals. So, I mean, whether you're spiritual or not, it's completely up to you. I am. And God helps keep me grounded in a lot of my life. And what's great is that I get to reflect on all the things that I've done and all the things that he has blessed me with. And so thinking about that, I think about my future and, what I want to accomplish, and, think about the very next things that I need to do, that day, that week, right, in order to accomplish the next step.
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
Oh man, I wish I knew the whole success triangle. So success triangle, right? Education, network, and action. I think I was a little bit too heavy-handed on the action lever when I just got started, and because of that, I know that I've made a lot of mistakes over these last 5 years of my investing career, but I learned it at some point, and since it's been a fun trying to fix all those mistakes. Yeah.
What are you curious about right now?
That's a good question. I'm curious about a lot. So really, I got to think about this one and pick one. But if I had to, I'm really curious about property development. That's something that I know I'm going to get to at some point in my career. But it always intrigues me because I'm a handy guy, right? I love to fix things around the house. I love to tackle a lot of rehab projects that some people would be afraid to do. And because of that, I've always wanted to actually build a home. And at some point, that's one of my goals to do. So property development.
All right. So you're out in Hawaii. You've been all over the country and the world for that matter. But, out in Hawaii, you got to give us the best place to grab a bite.
Oh, man, that is easy. So Buzz's Steakhouse is incredible, right? If you like steak, go out and grab a bite there. That's the spot.
Love it. All right. Well, I don't know when we're going to get to Hawaii, hopefully sometime soon. But when we do, we'll definitely make sure we check that out. Mike, It's been a lot of fun talking to you. Great information. I really love how you talked about, your transition from, being active duty, starting to invest, getting that first property, building your portfolio now and adding on some larger scale commercial real estate, but then also how you're serving a community and really being focused on who you help, who you serve, how you're creating content, growing the business, growing the education company, and really helping more people as you do that. So just really great insights there. And also appreciate you sharing a little bit more information on Gulfport, Mississippi, and what you like about that market. For listeners who want to get in touch with you, learn more about you, active duty, passive income, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, best way is to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, at Military Mike Foster, or you can hit us up, activedutypassiveincome.com. Just go straight to the site and check us out, man. We'd love to connect with you. Yeah. That's it.
Sounds good. Mike, appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being a guest on Target Market Insights, the Multifamily Marketing Show.
Thanks for having me. Take care.